Some people whisper about success like it's a secret, as if only the lucky find it, as if only the chosen few ever taste it. But the truth is simpler. The truth is timeless. The truth is uncomfortable for those looking for shortcuts and liberating for those willing to work. Success comes sooner or later as long as you work hard. And not just work when it's convenient. Not just hustle when it feels good. Not just grind when there's fire in your chest. But work when it's quiet. Work when you're tired. Work when the results are invisible and the applause is non-existent. Work when the world sleeps and your vision is the only light left on. Because that's the difference. That's the divide. That's the line that separates those who succeed from those who surrender. Not talent, not resources, not perfect timing, just relentless effort. The effort that doesn't ask for guarantees. The effort that doesn't clock out at the first sign of difficulty. The effort that says, I don't care how long it takes, I'm building something that time can't deny. And yes, time will test you. Time will make you wait. It will hand success to others first, just to see if you can clap while you're still in process. It will delay the recognition, delay the breakthrough, delay the reward not to discourage you, but to develop you. Because if success came instantly, it would vanish just as fast. But when it comes through the long road, the deep work, the silent seasons of sacrifice, that success is solid. That success is yours. And the only price? Keep showing up. Day after day, hour after hour, choice after choice. Not with perfection, but with persistence. Because here's what most people don't understand. Hard work is not a tactic. It's a transformer. It doesn't just change your income. It changes you. It changes how you think, how you move, how you handle pressure, how you carry your name when no one's watching. And that version of you, the one who's unshakable, focused, forged in consistency, that's the real reward. Success is just the bonus. Because if you keep working through rejection, working through the noise, working through the voice in your head that whispers, maybe it's not meant to be, you will arrive. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but you will get there. Because the one thing the world cannot stop is a man or woman who refuses to stop working. They may ignore you, delay you, overlook you, but if you keep building, they will have no choice but to see what you've made. Because hard work compounds, effort stacks, focus multiplies, and over time, it becomes unmistakable. Success has no choice but to answer the door of the one who kept knocking. And what does knocking look like? It looks like waking up early while others sleep in. It looks like saying no to distractions when everyone else says yes. It looks like building in the dark, trusting that your work will speak when the world is ready to listen. Because success doesn't speak your language. It speaks discipline. It speaks repetition. It speaks the language of those who build quietly, trust deeply, and move without needing a crowd. And if that's you, if you've been showing up, doing the work, and wondering when it'll all pay off, let me tell you something they won't. It already is. Every day you keep going, you're becoming stronger. Every sacrifice is shaping your edge. Every lonely hour is teaching you resilience. And eventually, that momentum becomes undeniable. Eventually, the dam breaks. Eventually, the tables turn. Not by chance, but because you refused to fold. You held the line when it would have been easier to let go. You stayed faithful to the vision when comfort called louder. And that's why you will succeed. Because the hard road always leads somewhere. And it always leads to the ones who kept walking, even when they couldn't see the finish line. Even when the nights got long and the world grew quiet. Even when doubt sat on your chest like a weight and the results moved slower than your hope. Even then you kept moving. And that's what separates destiny from dreams. That's what turns potential into power. That's what transforms effort into legacy. You see, success is not magic, it's math. You put in the hours, you stack the bricks, you keep laying foundations when no one claps and no one cares. And suddenly one day becomes day one. The people who said, it'll never happen, start asking how you did it. The ones who ignored you now follow your work. The moments you almost gave up become the chapters that inspire nations. But none of it works. None of it lasts sunless. You first make the decision that no matter how long it takes, you will not stop showing up. Because when you truly commit, when you remove maybe and replace it with must, your energy changes. Your decisions tighten. Your focus sharpens. And your life begins to bend in your favor. You stop chasing quick wins and you start building permanent ones. Because now you understand. Success isn't about being fast, it's about being faithful. And when you are faithful, when you are willing to do what others won't, to stay the course when others walk away, to keep building when the crowd moves on, you win. Not because of chance, not because of fate, but because of the force of hard work. The force of the human spirit committed to becoming what it was born to be. And if you keep going, no matter how slow, no matter how long, you will become undeniable. Success has no resistance to consistency. It doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care how gifted you are. It cares about how many times you're willing to swing the axe, how many mornings you're willing to rise without proof, how many days you can carry vision when reality says quit. Because the truth is, most people give up too early. Not because they didn't have what it takes, but because they didn't give it enough time. They walked away right before it broke open. They chose ease instead of endurance. They settled for someday instead of staying until this day. But not you. You're not here for temporary inspiration. You're here for transformation. And transformation has a cost. It costs comfort. It costs your old habits. It costs the luxury of waiting for motivation. But the return is power. The return is peace. The return is a life built from the soil of sacrifice and the steel of persistence. And when you live from that place, when you walk in that level of discipline, you don't just succeed, you become success. And the world feels it. They feel it in the way you move calm, clear, certain. They feel it in the way you speak measured, intentional, rooted. They feel it in the way you show up not desperate for validation, but anchored in value. Because when you've worked for it, when you've bled for it, when you've stayed, when it would have been easier to disappear, there's something different about you. Something that can't be faked. Something that can't be bought. It's presence. It's power. It's proof. Proof that you don't need to talk about your greatness. Your results will do it for you. Proof that success didn't just show up one day. You summoned it. You called it forth with your habits. You carved it from pain. You chased it down with every yes to the process and every no to the excuses. And that's why it's yours now. Because success doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the loyal to the vision, loyal to the process, loyal to the discipline long after the excitement has faded. That's the work. That's the path. That's the promise. If you work hard not once, not when it's easy, but when it's hard, success will come. Sooner or later, with force, with fire, with a testimony written in every scar, every sacrifice, every silent morning where you chose to keep going. So don't stop now. Not because it's close, but because you are certain. You're not guessing anymore. You're not hoping. You know how this ends. It ends with success in your hands. It ends with victory under your feet. It ends with a life you built from the ground up because you never let go of the one truth that separates the rare from the rest. Success always comes sooner or later as long as you work hard. And you're still working. So it's only a matter of time. Time is your ally now, not your enemy. Because you no longer fear the clock. You no longer race the calendar. You own the minutes, you maximize the hours, and you invest the days, knowing each one is another step toward the vision. You're not playing to win fast. You're playing to win forever. And that kind of win, it requires a different posture. Not frantic, Not desperate, not forced, but grounded, steady, relentless. The posture of someone who understands that greatness doesn't bloom in urgency, it blooms in unwavering consistency. Because the results you want, they are waiting at the end of what you refuse to quit. That's the finish line. Not the goal you chase, but the grit you hold. And that grit, it's already in you. You've shown it every time you worked when no one noticed. Every time you stayed focused while others got distracted. Every time you held the line when temptation whispered, take a break. You didn't. You didn't settle. You didn't fold. You didn't fake progress. You earned it. And now, whether it takes weeks, months, or years, you're on the path that guarantees arrival. Because the only people who fail are the ones who stop. And you're still rising, still building, still putting in the work most will never see. And that's why you'll have a life most will never live. Not because it was easy, but because you were willing to delay the reward, willing to embrace the silence, willing to trust your work more than your emotions. That's the magic. Not luck, loyalty to the process. Because the process always pays. It might not pay in the way you expect. It might not pay on the timeline you demand, but it pays. It pays in growth. It pays in strength. It pays in becoming the person who doesn't just talk about success, but embodies it. And when you embody it, when it's written in your habits, carved in your identity, alive in your decisions, success has no choice but to show up. Because you've already become what most people are still pretending to be. You've become the type of person who earns it. And in this world, that's everything. That's the edge. That's the path. That's the truth. Success comes. It always comes. And when it does, it finds the ones who never stopped working for it. It finds the ones who didn't flinch when it got hard. It finds the ones who showed up after every setback, every failure, every silent season where no one was watching and nothing seemed to move. It finds the ones who understood the work is the reward because the work shapes the warrior. And by the time success finally shows up, you're not just ready, you're worthy. Worthy of the stage, worthy of the spotlight, worthy of the life that only perseverance can unlock. Because you didn't just chase success, you became the kind of person success was looking for. Not through hype, but through habits. Not through noise, but through non-negotiables. You honored the process. You respected the climb. You stayed grounded while others chased speed. And now, you are the storm. You are the proof. You are the quiet force that success cannot deny. Because this was never about outworking others. It was about outlasting your old self, outlasting the excuses, outlasting the mood swings, outlasting the desire to quit when results were invisible. And now, your reward is not just the success you gain, it's the strength you carry. That quiet, calm power. The peace of someone who knows what they've built. Who doesn't fear losing it because they know how to build again. That's what hard work gives you. Not just rewards. Resilience. Not just possessions. Presence. Not just money. Mastery. Mastery of yourself. Mastery of the process. Mastery of the mind that no longer needs proof to keep going. Because now you understand. Hard work doesn't just create outcomes, it creates owners. And you are now the owner of your time, your focus, your destiny, because you worked when it was hard. You worked when it was thankless. You worked when no one believed in it but you. And soon, the world will see what you've known all along. That success doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the relentless, the ones who never stopped, the ones who always believed, the ones who worked and worked and worked until success had no choice but to show up and stay. Because that's what separates temporary victories from unshakable legacies. The world is full of flashes people who win once and vanish. People who peak early and disappear. People who chased applause but never built substance. But you weren't chasing a moment. You were building a movement. You weren't looking for quick fame. You were planting roots deep enough to weather any storm. And that's why what you build will last. Not because you had the loudest voice, but because you had the strongest foundation. And foundations aren't built overnight. They're laid in silence, in repetition, in 1,000 ordinary days that no one claps for. But those are the days that define you. Those are the days that harden your focus and strengthen your fire. And the longer you stay in the work, the more undeniable you become. Because no one can stop a person who shows up regardless of how they feel. No one can compete with someone who's not moved by mood, but by mission. And your mission is clear now. You didn't come to play games. You didn't come to dabble, to try, to hope. You came to build a life, to build a legacy, to build a body of work so strong, so real, so filled with conviction that it cannot be ignored. And that level of success, it doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It knows sooner or later it's mine. And when you know that, when you live like that, you stop comparing. You stop complaining. You stop questioning the time because you trust the process. And the process, it's working. Every rep, every early morning, every time you showed up when no one else would, every day you silenced the doubt and chose discipline instead. It's all adding up. Even if you don't see it yet, it's working. Because hard work never returns empty-handed. It always returns with growth, with grit, with greatness. And that greatness is not some far-off dream anymore. It's what you are becoming. Every single day you refuse to quit. So don't slow down. Don't second guess. Don't think for a second that your work is wasted. Because if you keep going, if you keep doing the work others won't, you'll soon live a life they can't. Not by luck, but by relentless effort. Because that's the rule. That's the law. That's the truth they never taught you in school, but it was always written in stone. Success comes sooner or later as long as you work hard. And you were built for this. So keep building. Build when it's dark. Build when it's quiet. Build when no one believes, because belief was never their job. It was yours. And you believed. You believed before the evidence. You believed before the income. You believed before the recognition. That belief, that's your edge. It's what gave your hard work power. It's what turned your effort into energy that the world will not ignore. Because belief is the ignition. Hard work is the engine. And consistency is the fuel. And once you've got all three, there is no room you can't walk into, no table you can't sit at, no dream too far, no vision too big. Because the work made you worthy. And you didn't just work for the goal. You worked for the grit. You worked to become the person who shows up regardless, who doesn't flinch in adversity, who doesn't beg for motivation, who doesn't crumble at the first no. You became the person who creates momentum, who generates belief, who builds outcomes from nothing but sweat and will. That's power. And that power, it's not flashy. It's not loud, but it's immovable. It's the kind of power you carry in your spine, in your eyes, in your tone. The power of someone who knows their work will pay off. Because how could it not? You've planted too much. You've endured too much. You've invested too much. You've paid in discipline. You've paid in nights without rest. You've paid in sacrifices no one clapped for. But that's why your reward will be different. That's why your return will be deeper. Because what comes easy fades fast. But what comes from fire, that stays. And you were forged in it. Forged in the hours others skipped. Forged in the days you kept building when it would have been easier to scroll, to sleep, to disappear. But you didn't. You stayed. And now Now the seeds you've planted are growing even if they haven't broken through the soil yet. They're rising. They're getting ready. And soon, so will you. Soon, you'll walk into what you've worked for. Soon, you'll live inside the future you fought for. And when it comes, you won't be surprised because you didn't wait for it to happen. You worked for it. Every step, every swing, every breath. Success didn't show up by chance. It showed up because you never stopped. And now, neither will it. Because once success knows your name, once it sees your discipline, once it feels your commitment, it doesn't walk past you. It stops. It stays. It settles in because it recognizes a soul that earned it, not borrowed it, not faked it, earned it. And there's a confidence that comes with that, a quiet knowing that you don't have to chase because what you've become attracts everything you once prayed for. You no longer hustle for validation. You no longer beg the world to see your value. You embody it in your choices, in your habits, in how you treat your time like gold, because you've learned that every second invested in your craft was never wasted. It was compounding, even when it felt invisible, even when it looked like nothing was working, even when your heart was heavy and your hands were tired. It was building, and now the world's about to see what consistency really looks like. They're about to witness what happens when someone refuses to fold. They'll say you came out of nowhere. They'll say you were lucky. But they didn't see the late nights. They didn't see the tears. They didn't see the days you doubted everything but still showed up. But you'll know. And that knowing, it's priceless. Because you didn't just reach success. You outgrew the version of yourself who almost gave up. You buried the excuses. You silenced the distractions. You became the kind of person who does what they said they would no matter how long it takes. And now, the only thing left to do, keep going. Because this doesn't end. Success is not a finish line, it's a lifestyle. It's not one goal. It's a rhythm of rising, a rhythm of working, a rhythm of showing the world that hard work is not outdated, not optional, not something to avoid. It is everything. And as long as you stay in that rhythm, as long as you keep moving, keep sharpening, keep growing, success will keep coming. So walk with your head high, not because you've made it, but because you never stopped making yourself. You are the result. You are the proof. And the world is about to witness what happens when you take one truth, hold it close, and live by it without compromise. Success comes sooner or later as long as you work hard. And you're still working. So it's already on its way. And when it arrives, when it finally shows up, not as a flash, but as a force, you'll receive it with grace. Because by then, you'll have learned success isn't about the moment of glory. It's about who you became in the process of becoming. You'll look back at the grind, the sweat, the long seasons of invisibility, and you won't resent a second of it. You'll honor it. Because those were the days that made you, the unseen hours, the quiet commitments, the relentless pursuit of something greater than comfort. Those days weren't a detour. They were the forge. They gave you grit. They gave you wisdom. They gave you the kind of soul that success doesn't scare, it serves. And that's what you've built now. A spirit too strong to break. A mind too focused to be fooled. A heart too disciplined to be distracted. And from here on out, you no longer chase opportunities. You create them. You no longer wait for doors. You build them. You no longer hope to be chosen. You choose yourself every single day. Because that's what hard work does. It puts the power back in your hands. It tells life, I don't need a guarantee I'll outlast the resistance. It tells the world, you don't have to believe in me. I believe in me enough for both of us. And that kind of belief, that kind of drive, it doesn't fade. Because it wasn't built in applause. It was built in adversity. And anything built in adversity, it lasts. So here's the truth. Carved in fire, written in sweat, backed by every step you've taken when no one else saw. You will succeed. Not maybe. Inevitable. Because you've already decided. You'll work harder. You'll work longer. You'll work smarter. You'll work until the doors open. Until the dream stands in front of you. Until your life reflects everything you've poured into the process. And when people ask how you did it, how you climbed so far, endured so much, created so greatly, you'll smile. Not with arrogance, but with certainty. And you'll say, I just never stopped. That's the truth. That's the secret. That's the fire. Success comes sooner or later, as long as you work hard. And you're not done yet.